Police are continuing to investigate after 3 people were shot to death in their Paulet home.
Sunday morning, Brian Crossman Sr., along with his wife Erica and stepson Colin Taft, were fatally shot inside their family home in Paulet on Vermont Route 133.
And doing our best to carry on.
In September 2024, occupants of a modest community in Vermont awakened to frightening news about a whole family being ruthlessly killed in their home. No one knew who had done it, on the grounds that the family was popular locally and they had no foes, except for, as an examination started, proof highlighted the most far-fetched individual as the executioner. The 22-year-old child Brian Crossman had a confounded relationship with his father, yet was this enough motivation to shoot and kill his whole family? Or was another person associated with the homicides? The subtleties for this situation are both stunning and upsetting, yet before we get to that, we should return and take a gander at how everything started. Vermont State Police have named the 3 individuals killed at their pet home on Sunday. They are undeniably related, and their demises being managed manslaughters in the early long stretches of September 15, 2024. Not long before sunrise, 22-year-old Brian Crossman jettled on a chilling 911 decision to report that he had found his whole family dead and the house doused in red. The Vermont State Police quickly answered, and they found Brian hanging tight for them at a close-by primary school. Yet when officials showed up, they were struck by seeing Brian's garments, which were absorbed red. He made sense of it, a level tone that the stains came from when he attempted to drag his dad's inert body beyond the house and burden him into a utility vehicle to take him to his grandma's home across the street. However, clearly his father's body ended up being a lot heavier than he expected, so he chose to call 911 as Brian held up at the school with 2 officials. Others dared to the house. What looked for them was an outthing of a bad dream. Different officials went to the house where they found a dead man at the front entryway and a self-loader gun on the floor inside the entryway. 3 bodies were thrown across the home in different areas. The first they found was Brian's dad, 46-year-old Brian Crossman Sr., who will get back to Crossman lying on his clothes. The mudroom entrance, his body was filled with discharge wounds, including a deadly shot to the head. The mudroom had itself was a loathsomeness show, the walls and entryways splattered with ruby, with pieces of tissue and bone dispersed across the room. Crossman's better half, Erica, was found in the main room. She was lying totally stripped on the right half of the bed, with her legs spread, separated. Her head was situated confronting her left side, and she seemed to have a gunfire twisted to the left half of her head, and police accepted that the body seemed to have been moved there. Erica's child Colin was the 3rd casualty. He was found in his room on the 2nd floor. He was lying face down on the floor with discharge wounds to his head and calf. Notwithstanding the bodies, police found a few weapons spread around the house. A 12 Czech shotgun was on the eating room table, and a 9mm self-loader handgun was in the mudroom. One more 12 Czech shotgun stuck with a curiously large shell was found on the sofa. There was likewise a weapon room close to the main room, which contained a gun safe, 2 gun cupboards, and a few different weapons. One of the cupboards was a wooden one with glass entryways, and one of its keyed glass entryways was left open, showing that numerous guns were feeling. The loss of the key was still in the lock of the base bureau, which was brimming with ammo. The kind of ammunition matched the ones utilized in the shootings all through the house. As detectives were handling the scene, different officials were conversing with Brian, attempting to make quick work of this grisly scene. Brian let them know that he had taken a stroll around evening time, as he ordinarily typically does. He didn't have the foggiest idea what time he left yet. It was dull, and he was away for a couple of hours. He made sense of that his father claims a lot of property, and that he would simply stroll around seeing deer. In some cases, I am away for a really long time. I very much prefer to put my earphones on. Strolling in and out of town, and simply stand by, listening to music, pay attention to webcasts. It's similar to OI energy with myself, or anything you consider it. When he got back from his walk, he found his family killed, which is the point at which he chose to drag his father to his grandmother's place, which is somewhat of a strange move. If you were to ask me, I mean in the event that you found somebody dead, wouldn't your most memorable nature be to call for help? Hauling a dormant body has neither rhyme nor reason, except if you're either attempting to cover something up, or there is something more vile having an effect on everything, except it gets hazier. Brian supposedly owned up to criminal investigators that he had really changed into the red-drenched garments he was wearing when the police showed up, and that there was more red smudged clothing back at the house. Police viewed this as a significant warning, since how would you even carve out opportunity to put on something else subsequent to finding your family? Didn't kill anything in Brian's story sounded good to the examiners yet. It was truly Brian's inquiry that caused them to accept that we're taking a gander at a relentless executioner. He nonchalantly asked, so what's going to happen? Am I going to go to the clinic or go to prison? Or am I about to go with my auntie or simply return home? There was not so much as a hint of misery or feelings in his tone, and he just appeared to be exhausted and prepared to continue on with his personal business. This persuaded criminal investigators considerably more that Brian find out about the homicides than he was letting on. Now, before we proceed with, we should rewind a bit and figure out more about the Crossman family. Brian Osmond Sr. was popular and regarded locally. He had quite recently been chosen as a individual from the town select load-up, where he should serve for a year, and neighbors portrayed him just like a diligent man who was generally there for his loved ones. In July 2024, Crossman had hitched 41-year-old Erica Payaku had a young child, Colin Taft, from a past marriage. Erica was depicted similar to a cherishing and caring individual who delighted in hunting, fishing, and tending to blossoms. In her extra energy, her child Colin was supposed to be a normal teen who cherished investing time outside and spending time with his more seasoned sibling. The family resided on a ranch in the little Vermont town of Reiter, where the Crossman family had resided for ages. A neighbor said that Crossman and Erica had as of late assumed control over the homestead from Crossman's sister, and they were attempting to make something out of it. The insight about this spectacular homicide shook the whole local area, as they couldn't comprehend the reason why anybody would need to hurt the family. This little town is so tranquil, its lovely individuals is so agreeable. All of us are shaken and welcoming. Our hearts go out to everybody impacted by this overwhelming misfortune. Now, Brian Jaw was Crossman's child from a past relationship. While there isn't much of data about that, we truly do realize that he was residing with his mother and her significant other in Granville, New York, and was simply visiting his father that end of the week. Subsequent to talking with different relatives, examiners uncovered a dull, rotting pressure among father and child that might have given the thought process to the homicides. Police interviews with C. Rossman's grandma uncovered that he was just remaining at the house for the end of the week. He resides in Granville. The oath expresses that Crossman Jaw guaranteed. He took a stroll around 12 p.m., finding the bodies after getting back 3 hours after the fact. Both Brian's mother and grandmother let criminal investigators know that Brian had a stressed relationship with his father because of his emotional wellness and learning handicap. Brian's mother, Precious Stone Bassett, said that she started seeing issues with Brian when he was around 3 years of age. Throughout the long term, he had been seen by numerous specialists and, surprisingly, hospitalized sooner or later. As per his mom, his way of behaving had been raising in the beyond 2 years, where he had started conversing with himself and turning out to be more erratic. Jem had reviewed an episode a month prior to the killings where she, her significant other, and Brian were in Atlantic City, New Jersey. During the excursion, Brian purportedly lost it and started hollering at himself When they returned home, Precious Stone said that she called Brian's primary care physician to attempt to get him help, and they were given an arrangement for October 9th too. 24 around then, nobody envisioned what Brian was really fit of. When asked what Brian had been determined to have, Precious Stone said conceivably schizophrenia, yet he had supposedly quit taking his medicine as a result of how it affected him. This is what the sworn statement said. His psychological soundness appeared to Ian stream with pinnacles and valleys. He was depicted as being exceptionally flighty 1 second and afterward, appearing to emerge from it a brief time frame. Later, Crossman Jaw likewise disapproved of specific surfaces, and they accepted him. Medically introverted anyway, it was not satisfactory at the hour of the meeting on the off chance that he had been analyzed as being mentally unbalanced. Evidently, Crossman Sr. felt that he could never have an ordinary dad-child relationship with Brian. In view of his psychological issues, he had a go at holding with him when he was more youthful by taking him hunting, yet as Brian progressed in years, he began revolting and sassing his dad anyway. Brian really appeared to coexist well with his stepmom Erica, and he had even let his mother know that he cherished being around her. That critical end of the week was whenever Brian first was remaining over at his father's place in 2 years. Jem said that she got a text from her child telling her that something terrible had occurred, and that he cherished her, and that she would ultimately catch wind of what happened. She promptly called him and asked what was happening. However, all he could see her was that he was being addressed by the police and couldn't talk. Then he hung up in a frenzy. She called Crossman's mother, Carla, who likewise had no clue about what had occurred in her meeting. Carla Crossman portrayed her grandson as never finding a place with others since he was little. He had never had any companions and didn't associate with any other person. She told analysts of the chilling second she learned of the sickening homicide. She said that she had gotten a call from Brian's mother, Precious Stone, at around 4:45 a.m. asking, assuming she had much familiarity with, for what good reason Brian was being addressed by the police. And as they were chatting on the telephone, Carla said that she peered through the window and saw what had all the earmarks of being blue crisis lights moving towards. She immediately told Jem she would get back to her and rush external directly across the street. She could plainly see a scene that must be portrayed as each parent's most terrible bad dream. Her child's dead body was lying at the entryway of his home. Examiners then, at that point, inquired as to whether she naturally suspected her grandson was equipped for perpetrating the horrendous wrongdoings, and took their unexpected. She really said okay, and brought up that Brian was excellent with firearms. Criminal investigators additionally evaluated Brian's auntie, Rachel Crossman. She said that Brian messaged her at 4:19 a.m. saying that he cherished her. Then soon after, she got a call from Brian's mother telling her that something was off base. Rachel then, at that point, called Brian to ask what was happening. He didn't answer the primary call, however got the second, and said father kicked the bucket. The call went on about a moment with Rachel over and over, asking Brian what occurred, and Brian answered that he didn't have any idea, and he would have rather not uttered a word in light of the fact that the police are here. Rachel depicted her nephew as being very unsettling and saying that he had communicated a few outrageous types of hostility towards others previously and all through his life. Rachel likewise reviewed an occurrence where Brian was situated on the entryway patio of his home in Granville, New York, and would make a weapon signal with a hand pointed at passing cars and holler bang. Rachel UI said that her nephew has consistently shown an interest in death and that he tormented frogs and cats in the past. She told the investigator that she accepts her nephew experiences dissociative character problem. Analysts likewise evaluated a family companion named Robert Taylor, who had known Crossman Sr. and Brian for a very long time and would some of the time go hunting with them. He enlightened criminal investigators regarding a chilling episode that occurred around quite a while back that made Taylor terrified of Brian. Them three had recently gotten back from Rome, a hunting trip, when Brian took a firearm that Taylor had kept in his truck and pointed it straightforwardly at them. Taylor hollered at Crossman Jaw as he moved toward them and later found that Crossman Jaw had stacked the magazine that Taylor kept at the mid-control area of his truck into the gun. Taylor faced Crossman Jaw about the risks of pointing a gun at somebody. Crossman Jaw at first said he was simply glancing through the extension, however, at that point expressed something with the impact of before long. "I will kill him." Taylor asked, "Kill who?" and Crossman answered, "D, my dad." After that occurrence, Taylor said, he didn't see Brian for a long time until that game-changing end of the week when he passed by the Crossman's home. Taylor noticed that Crossman Jaw appeared to be changed and referenced that Crossman Jaw was tipping his head sideways and giggling, which he had never seen before. He likewise expressed that Crossman Jaw examined his eyes that looked directly through you. While he was there, Taylor said that Erica trusted in him, that she didn't have a solid sense of reassurance around Brian, and she was reluctant to be abandoned with him when Crossman Sr. went to work. She told Taylor that she was frightened in light of the fact that Crossman Sr. was on stand by that end of the week for Green Mountain Power and could be gotten down on abandoning her with Crossman Jaw. Crossman said that she had a gun, however she never conveyed it and didn't know whether she would have the option to utilize it, assuming that she expected to. Taylor advised a Crossman to have Crossman Sr. lock up every one of the weapons, and Taylor told Crossman Sr. that Erica was uncomfort with Crossman Jaw being at the home and the chance of being there alone with him. That discussion supposedly occurred around 5:00 p.m. on Friday, September 13th. The following day, Crossman Sr. was called into work on 4 separate events. Then on Sunday morning, Erica's most terrible feelings of trepidation materialized. Vermont State Police uncovered a plenty of proof against the suspect. The testimony contains a photograph of Crossman canvassed in blood. Family insights concerning his emotional well-being likewise being utilized as proof. As per the oath, the family was prompted. Crossman conceivably had schizophrenia, showing disturbing way of behaving since the age of 3. Counting, pointing a rifle at his dad, and a companion expressing that he'd killed the dad. Crossman Jaw's phone web search history likewise uncovered various ventures about chronic executioners and strange homicides at the police headquarters. Brian would not respond to additional inquiries from the police and posed for a legal counselor. However, even without his admission, the police found numerous proof connecting him to the killings. They noticed that he had a physical issue on his right shoulder which was portrayed as being red and showed up near the area of the injury was supposedly steady to where a shooter typically puts the handle of a long weapon to discharge it. Analysts likewise found different upsetting quests on his telephone connected with chronic executioners and perplexing homicides. Brian had guaranteed that he didn't quickly consider 911 when he found his family, since there was no phone network in the house, except for specialists viewed this as clearly false. On September 20th, Brian was captured and accused of 3 counts of irritated murder. So under Vermont regulation, disturbed murder is a first or second degree murder carried out at the hour of an exasperating component, one of the expected disturbing variables, and the one that was charged here is that the homicide was committed at the hour of one more homicide. As of October 3, 2024, Brian is being held at the Vermont Division of Rectifications without bail. Specialists have not had the option to lay out a thought process in the killing, so there are some speculation that he was fixated on his stepmom and killed everybody since she offered no considerable tion except for "what do you think, let me in on" in the remarks. Also, remember to like, buy in, and hit that ringer button for more satisfied